When January 2015 rolls around, Arizona will have a newly elected bunch of state leaders and a newly formed legislature. And that's going to mean a whole new set of trials and tribulations for our public schools. School funding, Common Core, and testing are going to be the big three issues, and they're all in a state of flux right now. The courts are demanding that the state give more money to schools, an idea our new governor, Ducey, says he doesn't much like. There's no telling how that's going to go. Arizona's version of Common Core is set to ramp up over the next few years, but our new superintendent of public instruction, Diane Douglas, based her whole campaign on how much she hates Common Core. And that means our schools are going to be finding themselves between some serious rocks and hard places as the battle over Common Core rages. And testing, well, right now, we don't even have a state test ready for students to take in the spring. And when it's ready and the students take it, will it matter, or will it just be some kind of a trial run? No one knows for sure. Those three items are enough to keep the educational fires burning over the next 4 years, even if nothing else comes up. But something else always comes up. You can count on it. And my bet is it's going to be something like the sex education fight being fought right now in the Gilbert School District, a few miles east of Phoenix. Gilbert could be the beginning of the latest chapter in our ongoing education culture wars. And given what we know about our new governor and superintendent of public instruction, I won't be surprised to see them jump into the fights like this one feet first. So here's what's going on in Gilbert. The district's honors biology classes use a standard textbook, the kind of book that's used in schools across the state and the country. I mean, what could possibly be controversial about a standard issue biology book with that cute little lemur on the front cover, right? The problem is on page 545. That's the page where the book talks about contraception, the morning after pill, and the drug RU486, also known as mifepristone, which can be used to induce abortion in early weeks of pregnancy. A group of angry Gilbert residents think page 545 violates an Arizona law passed in 2012 that requires schools to teach preference, encouragement, and support to childbirth and adoption over abortion. They want the district to either black out the offending passages or literally cut page 545 out of the book. And the school board agreed in a 3-2 vote. Even though the State Department of Education said the page is just fine, it doesn't violate the law in any way. So let's look at the text on page 545. It's headed, Contraception Can Prevent Unwanted Pregnancy, and it begins like this. Contraception is the deliberate prevention of pregnancy. Complete abstinence, avoiding intercourse, is the only totally effective method of birth control, but other methods are effective to varying degrees. And then it goes on to talk about everything from tubal ligation to vasectomy to various types of contraceptives and their relative effectiveness. Now, I'm sure the anti-sex ed folks aren't happy about high school students getting a clinical scientific description of ways to prevent unwanted pregnancy, except, of course, for the abstinence part, which they think is wonderful. But that's not what they're basing their arguments on. Here's the passage they think violates the law. Certain drugs can prevent fertilization or implantation even after intercourse has occurred. Combination birth control pills can be prescribed in high doses for emergency contraception, also called morning after pills. And then this is the biggie. If pregnancy has already occurred, the drug mifepristone, or RU486, can induce an abortion, the termination of a pregnancy in progress, if taken within the first 7 weeks, and then it goes into the procedures. Page 454 is a scientific description of processes, products, and procedures related to contraception and early stage abortion, things that make perfect sense in a high school biology textbook. There's no advocacy in the passages, just information. But that doesn't satisfy the anti-sex ed crowd, also the anti-sex crowd in Gilbert. Either a book has to let students know that sex and abortion are wrong, 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 or it's got to be silent on the subject. Well, as I said, the current Department of Education under Superintendent John Hubenthal, who, by the way, is very conservative, said the passages in the textbook fall within the law. But Hubenthal will be gone in January, And our new superintendent, Diane Douglas, is well to the right of Huppenthal. She's Tea Party to the core and a cultural warrior par excellence. This is someone who thought it was important to state that she's pro-life on her campaign literature in her run for superintendent of education. The Gilbert School District fight over the teaching of sex education could very well be something she'll be eager to jump into, along with similar battles over religion in schools, and maybe what to include in history lessons, and which books should and shouldn't be taught in English classes. You can be sure Douglas's most ardent supporters will be rooting her on. And our new governor, Doug Ducey, is to the right of the outgoing Governor Brewer, and he receives strong support from the state's most conservative culture warriors. He could join forces with Douglas on this one. Well, Ann Eve, it's hard to imagine, it's not hard to imagine, I should say, culture wars joining school funding and Common Core and testing as major issues coming up in the next 4 years.
No, I think you're absolutely right, Dave, and I think you're right to flag this as another hot spot. You know, before it was Mexican American Studies, now is it going to become, you know, sex ed? I mean, the good thing about Gilbert, at least, is that they have changed the composition of that board in the last election. So it could be that the new board that is not so Tea Party crazy comes in and has a much more rational response to this issue. I don't know where the public falls on this. I don't think that this is something that there's widespread support for beyond sort of Tea Party extremists. I mean, what are we going to regulate in our med schools? Are our med schools not going to be allowed to talk about basic biological functions that occur when you're pregnant or no longer pregnant? I mean, this is just ridiculous. And so, you know, whether people decide to take this on as an issue, whether Diane Douglas decides that she wants to take this on or Doug Ducey wants to take it on, I mean, you're inviting a whole host of potential negatives, I think, just from a political standpoint. The school boards are, you know, a different kettle of fish. When you're at the statewide level, you have a different audience if you want to get reelected that you're going to have to respond to.
Right. Let's keep our eyes on this one. I don't know what's going to go, but let's keep our eyes on it.